And good evening, everybody. We are delighted to have you with us for the second of our month of celebration. I'm already feeling like it is going too quickly. I want to say again, thank you to all of our patrons. You saw their names scroll across the screen as you were coming on board. And just a reminder that we have a number of events coming up through April. Every Friday night, we have a wonderful speaker teacher. This Friday, my friend, Dr. Andrew Rayfeld, the president of the Hebrew Union College. And then next week, we have on Monday night, we are doing our program on Israeli art. And I just had a chance to see that today. It's really a fascinating discussion about Israeli and Jewish art. So throughout the evening, as we talk about Israeli wines, and we have a few more than you thought, if you want to ask a question, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll either put that on the screen or Rabbi David will, I give him a big round of applause for being our producer. He will let us know. Just a reminder that you need to be a subscriber to YouTube. You don't have to be a subscriber to watch, but you do need to be a subscriber to chat. And if you are a subscriber and you want to subscribe to the Temple Sinai page, then you can get announcements as we post things for when things are coming up in videos in video form. So tonight is Yom HaAtzmaut. We have transitioned from Yom HaZikaron last night to today, where we remember the loss of Israel's soldiers, and we commemorate their sacrifice and their families' sacrifice. And the sadness around that to explosive joy with Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day. And I couldn't think of a better way of celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut than with Jewish symbol of joy, wine. And not just any wine, Israeli wine. I am thrilled to introduce my very long-standing and dear friend, Joshua Greenstein, who was a past youth grouper of mine when we were both in Albany. Now he's grown up and now he has a wife and a family of his own, but he's still my youth grouper and really a dear, dear friend, and instantly jumped at the chance to be able to do this. He's actually, some of you have met him previously when he has come down to South Florida, and I have implored him to participate and to share his wine knowledge with us, and particularly Israeli wine. I want to say thank you to Josh, not only for doing the event, but also for becoming a patron, as he sponsored a lot of the wine that we get to drink tonight. So thank you, Josh. And finally, just as for those of you who are listening, who either have the wine, like it, and want more of it, or for those of you who are listening and maybe say, ooh, that sounds good, that sounds interesting, at least with the 2 bottles that everybody got, we have more of it at the synagogue. You're welcome to call the synagogue and see if we have any left. First come, first serve. So if it's gone, then you can go to something like kosherwine.com, or I would imagine some of the other local places have it as well. So with that, I want to toss it over to my friend Josh. Let's start with a little intro for people who don't know anything about Israeli wine. Give us a little start on the Israeli wine scene.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you, Rabbi Litwak, and I did jump at the opportunity to come join you for a Zoom. You know, I was on the road traveling for many years, and now I'm stuck behind my desk doing a lot of these Zooms. And when I heard that Rabbi Litwak was doing one and we were doing something to honor him, I wanted to jump right away and do it. So I'm glad that I could be part of this. And I wanted to think, like, how can I connect tonight's Zoom to, like, when I was a youth group member. So I guess it's weird now to think, Rabbi, that, you would turn your head at the bar mitzvahs and I would take a little sip of the wine, and now we're drinking 5 bottles of wine in one night. So we've come a long way from that, Rabbi. So I'm looking forward to that. So, a little bit about myself. As Rabbi Litwak mentioned, I grew up in Albany, New York. I live in Westchester now. I'm 5th generation wine business. And for the past 12 years, I've been lucky enough to be able to run around and sell brand Israel and promote the good, the fun, and the cool things coming out of Israel. In this case, we're talking about is all the wineries. And the joke that I make, and it's not really a joke, it's the truth. I say Israel's been making wine for about 5,000 years. They just got good at it. It took a long time of practicing and learning and embracing technology that we're now at the point now where I'm representing almost 30 wineries, and there's almost 400 of them in the country. So it's really, really come a long way. So I'll tell you guys a little more stories as we're going, but we all want to open wine and have something in our glass. So as I'm talking, the first wine, for those of you who are going to have it in front of you, is going to be this one right here. This is going to be the Tabor Adama Sauvignon Blanc. This is what the first wine is going to be in your glass. And I'm really excited to taste this wine with you guys tonight because I really think it's just a true sense of the innovation and the technology and what's going on in Israel. And yes, you'll notice this is a screw cap. That's okay. I love screw caps. I'm a big fan, especially in a wine like this. It's fresh and crisp and clean. You want it to come out of your fridge, ice cold, beautiful, and drink it right away. Drink it nice and cold. So let's all pour this glass of wine now. Everyone catch up with me. Rabbi, do you want to lead us in the blessing on the wine real quick?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Thank you. Amen. And with that, we start tasting some wine. And what we found in our glass now, it's a 100% Sauvignon Blanc. This is an unoaked white wine coming from the Galilee, coming from the north in Israel. And you'll see to my side all these different soil types I have stacked up next to me. You'll just see I have 7 of them here, 7 different ones. And it's just showing you the range of different soil types from rocky to terra rosa to limestone and all these different soil types that come in this tiny little small country but are able to produce so many different unique grapes and styles of wine. And it's not that sweet, syrupy Manischewitz that we may have all had a few weeks ago just because we want to carry on the tradition that our grandparents did and have that on our table. And I'll be honest, I have it too. It's part of my tradition. It's part of my family. But when you want to drink a good wine, these wines have come, like I said, a long way. So this is 100%
Not my house, Josh. Not my house. No Manischewitz. No Manischewitz in my house.
I did never make her charoset.
All right, fine. A little bit in charoset, but that's it. Okay.
All right, fine. So this wine is really beautiful. Most people when they think of the grape Sauvignon Blanc, they think of New Zealand. They think of fresh. Rabbi, what are you tasting in this? Like, when are you normally drinking this? What do you think of this wine?
So I think this is a great look. Sauvignon Blanc is a great wine for summer, and for that matter, in South Florida, really any time where it's hot, because you are serving it super, cold. You don't have to super cold. I actually think it shows a little bit of its fruit better when it's not so bracingly cold. What I like about this wine is, unlike the Sauvignon Blancs in New Zealand, which are really bracingly acidic, this is a nicely balanced wine. I get some kiwi in this. I get there's some nice citrus. If you think about opening up a grapefruit, and you get that kind of when you're just peeling it and you get that little bit of spray. I get some of that. This is really a fresh, delightful wine, and I think it would go great with, fresh fish, pasta, light meals, or for that matter, just sitting out on the porch, drinking something nice in the summer.
And it's funny that you say that. Everyone always is saying, when I'm doing these Zooms, what can you pair this with? I'm a big red wine drinker, and I only like to drink red wine. I say, you know what? It's really hot, in your case, in Florida throughout the year. This is the perfect wine when you're grilling and you're having a steak for dinner, but you want your red wine, which we're going to get to. This is a perfect wine. You open up, you pour yourself a glass, and while you're outside on the grill, while you're outside cleaning up the yard or on the pool, this is like your walk-around wine. This gets you to the next point, right? This gets you where we're going. This is working your way down the chain.
Yep.
And what's interesting also is, I said this, you only need to pour a little bit and you put it back in the fridge. Listen, we're all opening 2 bottles of wine tonight. Some of us are opening 5, Rabbi. But those of you who are opening 2 bottles of wine, don't feel obligated to finish it. Don't feel obligated to finish it. And if you do finish it, give me the pound. Congratulations. Good for you. You guys had a great night. Rabbi Litwak will be giving out Tylenol and little Zephyr Hills is what you guys down there tomorrow. Pickup lines. But if you don't finish the wine, for this Sauvignon Blanc, put the screw cap back on. You can keep this in your fridge for, 2-3 days, 4 days. And by the 4th day, for those of you who have kids or have a lot of fruit in the house, I say kids because I have, my son, we have little pineapple and blueberries and strawberries. This makes a great sangria also, Rabbi. You turn this into a pitcher, dump a little brandy in there. It's something cool to do with wine that you don't want to waste or throw away. So this is great. This is Tabor Sauvignon Blanc. One more cool story about this Tabor Sauvignon Blanc is you'll notice there's an owl on the bottle. And, everyone's talking about it's being cool, being sustainable, and being green, and being all this. But what's going on in Israel now with their embracing of technology, embracing the planet, they met with some people and they said, what can we do to help our land? And how do we know that our land is where it should be? And they said, well, listen, when all the animals come back, when the mouse come back and the snake comes back and the fox that eats the snake and the owl that eats this, and when you have the owl back in your vineyard, you guys know that you hit homeostasis. You guys know that you're back and everything's living very healthy. So about 4 years ago, the owl came back to this vineyard, and they really know that they're doing a really good job with the land because everything's flowing nicely. So that's Tabor Sauvignon Blanc. We're going to taste another couple other wines, but I thought something really interesting. And again, I wanted to see how many wines that Rabbi Litwak could taste in a night. I thought we would try something really cool tonight. And we're doing a little kind of like a Leah type of thing, right? We're going to call some people up. They're gonna hold the bottle of wine like this, right? They're going to make sure that the bottle of wine is nicely held in their hand, and they're going to talk about it with us. So we've chosen a couple people. I've sent some wine out to some of Rabbi Litwak's friends, and we're going to taste some wine with some other people out there and bring some other people on. Rabbi, who do we have signed up for our first taste test?
Foster's Meredith and Brian Foster get to be our first wine aliyah.
Hi, everybody.
There you are.
Hey.
All right.
How's it going, everybody? How are you, Rabbi?
Great.
Joshua
Greenstein. I am totally
very
excited.
nice to meet you.
I am totally excited.
Wait, can Rabbi Litwak do that again? Can you spin that cool thing you have in front of you? To go do that again backward. Look what that is amazing.
So yes, all of the wines that we'll have tonight are right here, ready to be shown. Once we get to them, we just turn it around.
That's amazing.
That's a serious wine drinking tool. That's very nice.
All right, Meredith and Brian, hold up our wine for tonight.
We're drinking something called Flam.
Flam.
Flam. Not the delicious Cuban pudding.
That's flan. All right, Josh, tell us about Flam, because this is a winery that I'm really that I'm really excited about because I've been there and got to meet the family. So tell us a little bit about them.
Beautiful. So I have a couple pictures that I've sent to you guys also. If we can pull one of them up, there's one of some rocks. If we're not able to pull it up, it's okay. Yeah, that one, perfect. So just something real cool to get into a little history as we go through some of these wines. You know what I'll do, Rabbi Litwak? The first person that chimes in on the bottom right now what that is, I'll pay for their 2 bottles of wine for them, Rabbi Litwak, okay? So hold that picture up for another second.
What is that?
And Rabbi David will take care of whoever puts it in the chat.
All right, so we're going to come back to that picture in a second. Everyone remember what that is, all right? We're going to come back to that in a second. I'm going to tell a little bit of story about the winery, and then we'll get back to that picture, okay? Thank you, Rabbi. So, Flom, it really is a cool story. You know, what's happening in Israel these days, it's boutique family wineries are really what's growing the business. There's a lot of big, large wineries like Barkan and Carmel and Tepperberg. They're definitely driving the business, but growing the business, it's these small family wineries that are owned by, what did someone write there? Mikvah. No, not a mikvah.
Good guess.
Good guess. Israel's being run by these like small little guys. So this is second generation winemaker producing. They make 6 different wines or 7 different wines. Each year, 5 of the 6 or 6 of the 7 get 90 points. Robert Parker, wine enthusiast or spectator. Okay. No mention of the K word. No mention of anything else. Simply their wines are consistently getting 90 points. So this one that we're tasting today, I thought it was perfect for Florida, perfect for seafood. What does that one say?
Sample?
A sample.
So this is an unoaked Chardonnay Sauvignon Blanc, really fresh and clean. For those of you who don't love Chardonnay, I think this is a great way to start tasting Chardonnay. So this is your foot in the door. Let's throw it back over to our friends that are tasting with us. What do you guys think of this wine, and what would you pair this with, or what would you cook with this for dinner?
Well, as someone who doesn't drink a lot,
Wine.
but I do drink frequently.
Wine.
I don't drink a lot, but I drink frequently. This smells very buttery, and really it's luscious. And I think this goes with a lot of what we eat at home, a lot of healthy foods. We eat a lot of vegetables. We're, a lot of grains. The occasional hamburger would go with too, although I prefer an IPA for that.
Looks like Sue just got it right, by the way.
Oh, I missed what Sue's guess was. What was Sue's guess?
Sue wrote, where you stand on the grapes to press them. So bring up that picture again, Rabbi, if you don't mind, please. So the thing on the left is where all the grapes would go. And yeah, some people may have stepped on them or used logs and rolled the logs over them or used rocks. But this is an ancient wine press. You find these all over the country. And the reason, and the next hole, the little baby hole, they would stuff with vines and sticks from the harvest. And they would use it as like a filtration system. And then the big one, it was deeper. The third hole, that looks like a bathtub, is where all the wine would sit. And they would scoop it out and put it into their vats and go store it in their caves. And which was really interesting. Israel was always under attack, and there was always stuff going on throughout thousands of years. And any cave where they had hidings, where they would have like escape tunnels built, were also their wine caves, because the first thing, Rabbi Litwak, that you grab besides your family, your wedding album, and everything else, what's the first thing you grab before you leave your house?
It's going to be a little hard, but you're right. I would drag my wine cellar right out the door with me.
So that's the MO that those guys had too. They needed that wine for the next Shabbos. So this was an ancient wine press. So Sue, Rabbi Litwak, give her 2 bottles on me. And congratulations for that. So let's get back to Meredith and Brian and tell us. I think that's right. You're really getting some of that butteriness from the Chardonnay, the cleanliness and the fresh citrusness from the Sauvignon Blanc. I think comparing it to an IPA, I think it's got that fruity, fruit-forward smell to it. And that gives it that cool, fresh. Rabbi Litwak, what are you getting with this?
Let me, for those of you, hi, John and Harriet, Michael, my friends from childhood. Here's our wine, I got to get it right there. This is called Flamme Blanc, and it is it's almost 50-50. It's 58% 58% Sauvignon Blanc, 42% Chardonnay. And what I like about this wine is that it's a little richer. It's not super rich. The combination of the lighter Sauvignon Blanc and a little heavier and richer Chardonnay make this a nicely balanced wine. We actually, I have to admit, Deborah and I opened this up. We had this with fish tacos for dinner tonight, and it wasn't tasting quite as good as it's tasting now. It needed a little time to open up, but I think that there is a good viscosity, meaning that there's a mouth feel that kind of coats your tongue versus bracing acidity, which kind of burns but really tastes delicious, almost makes you want to drink more, as the Sauvignon Blanc does. This is a great wine to go with food.
I would agree with all of that.
Very well said, Rabbi. And it's like it's perfect to see how it evolves. And if this wine's not seeing any wood, so that's what the Chardonnay does to the body of the wine. It's amazing to see what different grapes do to the wine. So, Meredith, do you have anything to say about this beautiful?
I actually like it a lot. I'm not a Chardonnay fan. I'm a big Sauvignon Blanc fan. So I like the combination. It's very good. Not too sweet. I like it.
Cool. That's what I think. It's a good transition for people just to see what that other grape can do to something and add to it. It's just like a pinch of something else. So
yeah, we like it a lot.
Good.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I'm glad you guys got to join an extra bottle of wine. And remember, if you don't finish it, put it in the fridge for another 2-3 days. And if not, make a sangria for the weekend.
Thank you.
Delicious.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Meredith. Bye, Brian. All right.
All right, Rabbi, we got another friend joining us.
Yeah. Hey, we do. Or are you going to talk about wine regions and stuff a little bit later? I just want to make sure we get in.
We can do that. We can pull up that map for a second, if you don't mind. Perfect. So that was the ancient wine press, which again is found all over the country. All right, we'll ask one more trivia question, Rabbi. All right, we'll leave that up for a second. If anybody can tell me in the chat what this is, and for a bonus point, how is it done? All right, let's go to the next picture. What is that, and how is it done? All right, so this right here, it's a wine map of Israel, and we're zooming in. You'll remember that this country is very small. It's the size of it's the size of New Jersey, really. So we're looking at this map, and we're trying to understand that all these wineries are being crammed into this little country with many different soil types and many different temperatures and many different terroirs and many different levels of elevation all over the country to be able to produce every kind of grape. And what's really cool is, the north, which has high elevation, and you go down to the desert, which it's an amazing place. We'll get to in a little bit, but what does that say? Solar. It's not solar. It's just amazing to see how Israel embraces the technology in every aspect. And what's cool about this map also is I recently did a Zoom with a couple sommeliers and a couple wine educators. And one of the guys on the call said he's been all over the world to wineries all over the world. And he's never been to a country except for Israel where you'll see 10 rows of Cabernet, 10 rows of Sauvignon Blanc, 10 rows of mango fields, 10 rows of olive trees, and a row of corn all in 1 acre land. Like, they use every inch. They know how to grow everything. It's insane. And they have the perfect climate for growing everything. Like, for all of you who have been lucky enough to go there or continue to get to go there, hopefully soon again, how great are the fruits and stuff and vegetables that are grown there? Like they're amazing. So imagine those amazing fruits and vegetables as a grape, which is a fruit, combined with some amazing technology and people doing it. It really is producing some really amazing stuff. And you'll see all the names of some of the wineries on this list here that I represent. This is about 85 to 90% of the wine imported from Israel to the U.S. throughout the year. You'll see some of the bigger names, Barkan, Carmel. You'll see Flam on there. You'll see my new friend, Amari Stoudemire. What did someone say? Amari Stoudemire, who is the NBA All-Star, who has his own winery now in Israel. So it's just really cool just to see how all these different regions, like the Jeddah Hills, which is right outside of Jerusalem, is able to produce some stuff. And then the Golan Heights. So it really is, it's just an amazing feat what Israel has brought to the table. We're going to go back to that picture again because I don't think anyone's gotten it right yet. All righty.
Am I allowed to jump in, or are we going to?
We can jump in if you want. Yeah, please. I'd love for you to.
So I want to give everybody a chance. All right. And Josh, on screen, I want you to say, you did not tell me what this is, right?
No, I did not.
So this is a guess. First of all, I think it is in the Negev. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. And since this is an Israeli wine event, I'm guessing that is some sort of vineyard. Right?
Correct.
And when you ask how it gets done, I'm going to assume drip irrigation.
Look at you. Look at you drinking again for free next Shabbos.
That's it.
So again, like, I do a lot of these Zooms and people say, like, give me pictures, give me videos, give me this. I personally would rather just talk and tell all these great stories that I have from all these wineries. But these two pictures really, I think, just show the feat of technology and history in just these two pictures. To see this aerial shot of Barkan Pinot Noir, okay? This is a $9.99 bottle of wine, grapes being grown in the middle of the desert with drip irrigation, which was founded in Israel, and they are growing a $9.99 amazing Pinot Noir. That's what that is.
That is cool. That is very cool. Oh.
So it's just amazing to see what technology has brought their way. So yeah. What do we bringing someone on next with us, Rabbi, to taste another bottle? Because I think you're still thirsty. You're gonna spin the wheel with us. Come on.
All right, here we go. I'm spinning the wheel. We're going to come up. And for our second aliyah, Ya'amdu, Sandy and Don Goodman. And we say got to hold it up. Oh, no, Don's he's got to drink it first, then he'll hold it up.
I'll hold it up while I drink it.
There you go. All right. Sandy, again, a big mazel tov. Sandy celebrated the 61st anniversary of her becoming bat mitzvah last Shabbos. We're drinking to you, Sandy, and I suppose to you too, Don. All right, Josh, tell us a little bit about this wine.
So, thank you guys for joining us. I hope you're enjoying the wine also. So, what we did when we picked the wines for tonight also, we kind of did try to take us all over the country. We wanted to go do a little bit of something from the north when we started up in the Galilee with the Tabor Sauvignon Blanc. Then we jumped to the Judean Hills with the Flam. Now we're going to float back up north to the Galilee, where this is Jezreel. This winery is right near the Sea of Galilee, overlooking their vineyards are overlooking the sea itself, have some beautiful vineyards there. They're located in a kibbutz, about 20 minutes from the sea itself. And they're a very new winery within the past 10 years, and they're all about Mediterranean style, embracing Mediterranean. Like the first wine we tasted was a Sauvignon Blanc. The second wine we tasted was a Sauvignon Blanc Chardonnay. Oh, you know what? Speaking of Chardonnay for a second, can you pull Rabbi Litwak up for a second? Rabbi, I have a quick question for you. This is something else we didn't talk about. translate something for me because my Hebrew. I need some help with my Hebrew. My youth group director didn't teach me great Hebrew. What does this translate to? Okay, Chardonnay. Okay, Char, Adonai, Chardonnay. What does that translate to? Chardonnay.
Gate to God, or gate of God.
So some people think that Chardonnay originated in Israel, by the way. The gates of God, the Chardonnay.
Wow. That is cool.
Okay. So that's
the student teaches the teacher. All right. Here's to you, man.
Thank you. I'm glad you like that. So this wine that we're drinking here, just getting back to Israel and indigenous. A lot of people are trying to grow more indigenous style grapes and embrace the grapes that have been in front of them. So this is I don't think many people have tasted a wine of this blend ever. This is a Syrah Carignan Argomon. Argomon is a grape that's only found in Israel blend. This is a beautiful Mediterranean style red. Let's throw it over to our friends and see what they're tasting with it, and then we'll get into a little bit deeper about it. Sandy, Don, what are you guys tasting? Sandy, what are you tasting? And Mazel Tov, by the way, Sandy.
This is a lovely wine. The nose is incredible. I just can't stop on spice, cherry, chewy. It's really a very chewy wine. A lot going on in your mouth. And Don keeps saying Northern Rhone.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's definitely Northern Rhone.
Wine. The Syrah really comes out. You can really you really get a lot of that one. But I could drink this for a lot.
And probably.
And Don's definitely it's got that French funky style to it, Don. You're right. So what else, Don? What do you think about it?
There's a lot of structure there. It's not a sort of big open flabby wine. There's a lot of.
It's very chewy.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
like this.
Yeah.
And Argomon it's really a colorful grape. It used to be they were using Argomon to kind of darken the color of the wine. Like when you hold this wine up to the light, you look at it, it's really got that dark inky color to it. And the winemaker Yehuda Nar Hara is a really good friend of mine. What's cool about him is he's one of the food editors for many of the Israeli newspapers, and he got into the wine business after he was into the food side of things. So when a winemaker makes their wine with food in mind, I think exactly what they were just saying. It gets that chewy and that smells and those things that we want from the wine come out, because you can tell that this guy is a foodie when you're drinking his wines. Rabbi Litwak, what are you getting with this?
I actually, not only do I like this wine, but this is not the first time I've had it. This is one of Deborah's favorites. She liked this wine. As soon as she saw it on the table, she got excited about this. I like the nose on this has kind of a minty and earthy touch to it. You can feel a little bit of the dust and heat of Israel coming out in that. For those people who have been to Israel, when you just breathe in the air, and there's some of that herb and spice there. And then I get a little smoke, a little leather, some dark fruits, black cherry. There's even some coffee and black and dark chocolate is really what I'm hitting.
Oh, wow.
And Don, are you the big foodie over there? Don, what would you maybe prepare this wine with? Or what are you guys having for dinner? What would you guys pair this wine with on your end?
Lamb, definitely. Probably several very treif dishes.
You didn't say that, did you?
Wait, Sandy is here with her Levain chocolate chip cookie.
Actually, it's her Levain chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah,
Well,
you
listen,
can probably.
I think wine goes better sometimes with great chocolate, like a great piece of chocolate. There's nothing better than a great piece of chocolate and a great bottle of wine. They just really pair well together. Sandy, is this your famous chocolate chip recipe, or is this?
This is New York Levan Bakery chocolate.
Ready for this? I was in the city today. I kid you not. I was on 71st for an event. Levine on 74th moved to 76, and I didn't feel like walking 2 more blocks up, so I didn't.
They moved. Since they're also on Amsterdam at 86, right?
Yeah, and now they sell them frozen in the grocery stores.
Places.
It's by far, Sandy, my favorite chocolate chip cookie in all of Manhattan. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got because our daughter, who loves her mother very much, sent cookies.
Can I ask you what's your favorite? Can I ask you what your favorite cookie is? I like their oatmeal raisin, by the way. But we'll get back to wine. Levine Bakery in New York City, great place to visit. It's one of my favorite pastry places. I literally went there today, which is hilarious. So we're going from big wineries from Tabor to small boutique family wineries that have the guy went and learned in Italy how to make wines to Jezreel Winery, where it's a guy that kind of was in the food business and said, you know what, I want to make some really cool Mediterranean funky wines, and they're really kicking butt and doing some cool things. And I personally don't sell or talk wine about the grapes, and about the sugars, and about the alcohol. I like to tell the stories. And I think Rabbi Litwak, one of the next wine that we're tasting is personally one of my favorite stories, and it's one of my favorite wineries to work with. So we're going to jump into the next one.
I could not agree more.
Sandy and Don, thank you guys so much for joining us. You guys were great, and I wish I could stop and get a cookie. I'm really upset now. I wish I did. Thank you, guys. So Rabbi Litwak, you spun the wheel of fortune?
I did spin the wheel of fortune and hit to tulip. I believe we're doing Merlot, right? Yep.
Correct, tulip Merlot. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm definitely a storyteller. I think that's my rabbinical skill, is to be able to tell a good sermon about a bottle of wine, or a good story about a bottle of wine. And tulip made it very easy for me to talk about cool things that are being done in the world. In today's world today, we all try to do the best thing that we can, and we always try to give a little stucco when we can. We try to help the temple if we can. We try to donate here and there. We do. We all try to give as much as we can, and even more important to do is I have a 7-year-old son named Hudson, and try to teach our kids to do it as well. And when they have a birthday party, and tell them that you get to pick one gift that you get to donate back to a kid. It's just really cool to be able to see and feel the sense of Judaism that we've learned, and to be able to do that. But Tulip Winery, I think, does it better than anybody else. Tulip Winery is a community. It's a kibbutz in the northern part of Israel, about 45 minutes from Tel Aviv, entirely for special needs people. Autistic, mentally challenged, men and women that weren't able to live at home anymore, weren't able to live in the house, and the kibbutz offered a sense of community for them to be able to live together. And Tulip moved into the community and gave these people a sense of work. He employs these men and women. It's not a volunteer thing. It's not a good deed thing. It's, guys, you're here to work. Let's work. Let's do this. Let's get to work here. And just to show you how serious this guy is, he's one of my best friends in Israel these days. Roy Ataki, the owner, for the first 5-6 years of the winery, he didn't even tell his story. He didn't even talk about where the wine was. He just sold the wine. Here's a great Cabernet. Here's a great Chardonnay. Here's a great what I have. Just try my stuff. And then it started to get out what he was doing. And it's just amazing to see that these men and women are able to make and work with the winemaker to produce some of these great wines. And what's really cool is one of my favorite stories. There was a gentleman that came to the winery as a 40-something-year-old male, and he was a mute. He just didn't talk. He just kept to himself. And after the first couple of weeks of working at the winery, the joke at the winery now is the guy won't shut up. He's just talking and communicative and like you know, when he was in talks with people and some of the people that were there to help him, and they asked him, you know, what have you been doing? He said, listen, I feel like I have a sense now. Like I feel like I have a sense and a reason to keep going and a reason to want to work with people and be with people, like because I'm working for something. I can go buy the girl that I like, and there's boyfriends and girlfriends there too. It's amazing. I can go buy her a ring at the store. I can go buy her a shirt or whatever, a bottle of soda for her because I have a job and I can do it. So it really gave people a sense of ability. And talking about Parker Wine Enthusiast Spectator, these wines are getting 90 points like all the time, like crazy great scores. So again, these guys are making all different wines. This happens to be their entry-level Merlot. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful wine. Really pairs well with some great foods, and it's a lighter body red, which I chose on purpose for hot Florida days. So with that story, hopefully everyone's not crying and everyone's drinking. Rabbi, why don't you tell me a little bit about what this Merlot is?
Well, so the first thing is, if you look on the back, and I don't know whether I can get it close enough, where it says, all right, we only put labels on wine, not on people. I think that is just an incredible statement of this winery. Like you, Josh, it's a favorite story to tell. That Israel is so far ahead of so many countries, particularly the United States, in really seeing the value of every human being, and to be able to give people who have developmental disabilities or challenges to be able to give them a sense of purpose and meaning and value in their lives. Okay, so let's get to the wine, because as wonderful of a story is, if it's terrible wine, the story is okay. But in this case, I cannot believe this is like a $20 bottle of wine, and it really is. It's soft like a Merlot. It does have a little bit of structure, which I think is coming from it's a blend, if I'm not mistaken.
A little bit of Petit Verdot in there, splash at the end, just to give it what you're talking about.
A Petit Verdot, or does it have Viognier? Because I'm smelling right there's a floralness to it that I really like. So this is raspberries and black cherries, like Bing cherries. There's a sweeter taste to it.
Sorry, Rob, you're right. It is a Viognier, which is also
a white
Viognier? Wine grape. Yeah, it's a white grape also, to point out, which is why it's like, you know, they add this little bit of white wine to this red wine to do exactly what you're talking about, to give it that little openness, to let it come into you and kind of give it that hit the nose, hit the back of the mouth. And let me ask you a question also. I chose Merlot on purpose. And be honest, how often would you go pick a Merlot out?
Not very often. And yet I think that this is a perfectly good, great wine to drink any day with, you know, burgers and chicken and whatever. You want something, you want to support Israel at your Shabbat table. This is it. This is the way to do it.
Just touching Merlot for a second, you know, I know you have what, like 20 cases of Petrus in your other wine cabinet, right?
I only wish that I had Petrus, but yes.
And what grape is Petrus made from?
Merlot. It is a Merlot-based blend. Petrus, for those of you who are not in the know, Petrus is one of the most expensive wines coming straight out of the out of the bottle. It is thousands of dollars per bottle, and I can officially say I've never tasted it. So, Josh, I'm looking forward to visiting you in New York and opening up your many bottles of Petrus. Here's to you, my friend.
Well, we're more than welcome to open whatever you want when you're here, by the way, so that's no problem. But I'm just showing you that don't let Merlot intimidate you as a grape. I feel like wine, part of this thing also I want to show people is don't let wine intimidate you. Like, wine's supposed to be fun. And yeah, maybe I and Rabbi Litwak sound like we know a lot about what we're talking about, but don't tell everybody the only way to be able to do this is to taste more wine, okay? And if it's bad wine and you don't like it, I think you learn more from a wine that you don't like about wines than what you do like. So if there's a wine tasting when hopefully everything opens up again, South Beach Food and Wine, I believe, is happening this year. I should be coming down for that. Whenever you get the opportunity just to taste as many wines as you can in a sitting or in a couple of days or whatever it is, just do that. It's really helpful for your palate and be able to, grow yourself as a wine drinker and see what you like and what you don't like.
So, hey, Josh, can I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about kosher wine, right?
Perfect.
And it's gotten a bad rap. How much of what makes a wine kosher? And for example, both of the I know both of the whites that we tasted, both are labeled non-mevushal, not mevushal. What exactly does that mean? I'm going to let you tackle those. But then also, I know that you are representing all kosher wines. But what percentage of Israeli wine is being produced non-kosher? And what does that mean?
Great question.
And I'm going to just sit back here and drink. Mm-hmm.
No, great. Enjoy. Please work your way around the board again. I think it's really important for people to understand these few things. That kosher means, if you notice, I haven't brought up the K word the whole time. Okay, I stay far away from it. I don't like mentioning the K word, but in situations like this where I feel like there's people on this call that feel like kosher is intimidating. Many of you, like myself, that grew up, only kept kosher for 1 week a year during Passover, and you had Manischewitz, and it ruined your visions of kosher wines. On the contrary, kosher means nothing. Snapple, Godiva, Lay's potato chips. 90% of the non-perishable stuff that you have in your house is probably kosher, okay? And you don't buy that stuff because it's kosher. The Snapple guy is not walking into Publix and trying to sell Snapple because it's kosher. He's selling it as Snapple. So I'm selling my wines as wines. They happen to be from Israel. They happen to be kosher. And just to show you guys really quickly, like from a perspective of how it's come a long way, there's a couple good examples. Laurent Perrier, which is a very, very famous champagne house in Champagne. It's non-kosher, right, Rabbi Litwak? You've had Laurent Perrier before. It's a beautiful, beautiful champagne. You've had it. We've all made l'chaim with it. It's non-kosher. We drank it. It's a beautiful, beautiful champagne. What's really cool about it is about 10, 12 years ago, they made a kosher run, and they've been doing it ever since, okay? So Laurent Perrier, which is this non-kosher winery, who is established in Champagne, which has been there for hundreds of years, which sells out every time they make it, decided to make a kosher run and still put their name on it, okay? So why am I going there? Why am I talking about French Champagne right now? I'm showing you guys that by them putting a kosher label on the back of it, did not ruin it. And why do I know that? Because they wouldn't have put their name on it. They would have called it some other random name and sold it as a cheap, bad champagne. They still call it Laurent Perrier. They still honor their name. They still do all that. So that's one example of how kosher is not anything. The only thing that makes a wine kosher is the people observing it. It's the people watching the process. They're not open on Shabbos. It's kind of cool now. Like it's cool to be, vegan and this and that and all these kind of cool things. Kosher is cool because you give people time off. You follow all the rules. Listen, I grew up a Reformed Jew, and I kind of understand like all these crazy things that I looked at, like that they were doing to follow these kosher things. They're actually kind of cool. They're very nice to people. You're being really sympathetic to people, letting them take time off and be home with the family and chill. Like, who doesn't want that? So that's all kosher is. It's just really, kosher means like, everything's cool. Everything's kosher. That's pretty much what it comes down to with these wines. Everything has been good with them. As far as mevushal, So that word scares people even more. Everyone thinks the wines have been boiled to their bubbling point. Everyone pictures an old witch's pot with boiling over wine, and then they pour it into bottles. Okay? Rabbi Litwak, you said, we talked about before, we just mentioned Petrus, which is one of the most expensive wineries in France. What about a winery called Bout Castel or Bout Castel? You've heard of that one?
Mm-hmm.
How much do those bottles start at?
I don't know. I probably can't afford them.
Right. So like a lease payment, right? Or a mortgage payment, or between a lease payment and a mortgage payment. Somewhere between there, you can maybe find a bottle, okay? Why am I talking about crazy expensive wines again? Okay? If you dive into what they do at their winery, they flash pasteurize their wines. Okay? What does Mavushal mean? It's flash pasteurized. That's all it means. There's many wineries. Kendall Jackson. There's a lot of wineries out there today. They don't talk about it because it just doesn't need to. No one really dives into why does the guy cover the leaves. And if people really dive into it, want to talk to some of these winemakers more, they'll tell you that what Mavushal does is makes the wine more approachable at an earlier age. So think about what we're talking about. We're talking about heating up the wine and bringing it back down. So what it does is it makes the wine more approachable. It makes it more easy drinking. It makes it more fun. Yeah, we all have a wine cellar or a wine fridge, or we want to, or in our head we do, or where we take bottles of wine and we store them and we open them 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 years later, whatever it happens to be. I happened to open a 1981 Magnum. I turned 40 this year, and I got a bottle of wine for my birthday. It was amazing. So it's fun to do that too. But for the most part, wine is meant to be drank in the first 5-7 years that you have it. So when Mavushal is done, it allows the wine to be able to be consumed like that right away. So that's kind of like, and there's a champagne house called Drapier. So I'm giving you another example of another French place that's doing it. And I feel like me giving French examples show that the French are doing it. It must be kind of okay because they have a lot of rules over there. So there's a champagne called Drapier, very famous champagne house, again in Champagne. They make a kosher Mavushal champagne and put their same label on it. So again, I'm just showing you examples of wineries feeling like it doesn't affect the quality. So that's those two things really in a nutshell. I hope scare people or bore anybody, but I just want to show you kosher means nothing. It's very important. At the end of the day, also, I think it's important for us to realize we need to support Israel more than anything. And Rabbi Litwak mentioned, hey, next time you guys have your Shabbat dinner, open up one of these bottles of wine. I have 2 other great suggestions of ways to open them. I open them on any Wednesday. It's a great day to open them. And especially when you're going and giving gifts. Everyone gives gifts or goes and buys, let's say, throughout the year, 10, 12 bottles of wine to give as a gift to somebody, or maybe more if you're a law officer or whatever, and you're giving gifts. I think to support Israel and to give Israeli wines to people is amazing. It's an amazing thing to be able to walk into someone's house and give this. Imagine you walking with that tulip and you tell that story to somebody and you talk about the wine. It's like instant conversation. It's a beautiful thing. And for those of you who, Rabbi Litwak, cover your ears, eat treif outside the house. When you walk into these treif restaurants, my favorite thing to do is ask them for a bottle of wine from Israel, knowing they're not going to have it. So it gets into the guy's head. Hey, can you bring the wine guy over and just put it into these people's head, and it will be a big help for me, guys. So we got some other cool stuff. Rabbi Litwak, do we want to maybe taste one more wine?
Oh, absolutely. This is
Do you have it
exciting.
in you? Can you do it? Can you taste one
I
more?
have it. For this one, absolutely.
How many wines you've tasted in a day? Was it with me that time at the that tasting room, or you've tasted more wines in one day, different wines?
I'm almost embarrassed to be able to tell you how many wines I've tasted in a day. Okay.
What's that number?
Let's put it this way. Go ahead and take a guess, Josh. Throw out a number.
113.
Okay, now what are you, like, I only wish.
No, I would say you've tasted 25 wines in a day.
25. You're not in the ballpark.
No,
okay?
more?
I will tell you that And I can tell you when it was. I can tell you where it was. I can tell you who I was with. I tasted 69 wines in a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, you're a professional at what you do.
You know, these are the things. It's important. All right. Well, this one I have never tasted. I have never had this wine, and I'm so excited to try it. So, do you want to bring?
One more question though, just because I think everyone out there thinks like that Rabbi Litwak knows all this about wine and he's tasting so many wines. But when you tasted 69 a day, I just want to touch it for 1 second. You learn so much, especially from the wines you don't like, and you're in your own head, or if you write it down. It's amazing just to be able that helps you so much in confidence in going to the restaurant and not ordering the second cheapest wine on the wine list because you're afraid of the list, you know?
I absolutely agree with that. And the way I talk about it is people look at art all the time, okay? And they look at a painting and they say, I like that, or I don't like it, okay? But that's simply an impression, okay? When we come to understand the wine, or we come to understand the art, is when we put it next to another piece of art, and we're able to compare the two, okay? So the chance to taste 5 wines, 3 of which are red, I could spend just time comparing one to the other Now I have reference points. This one's sweeter, this one's drier, this one has a bigger nose, this one doesn't have a bigger nose, all right? This one's spicier, this one's not spicier. That's where one learns about wine, is being able to compare.
And that's why I like doing it the way we're doing it, and being able to go. And you noticed also the way that the structure has gone, the way that wheel has spun, has been lighter to fuller. We're easy on the palate. We're slowly working our way up to bigger, fuller wines. And it's really cool to be able to close with the wine that you haven't tasted before. So it's awesome just to be able to go through all these and think about what you liked and pull it out and say, hey, you know what? I like the Argamon. Let me go taste something else with Argamon now. Let me venture out of my box and try new grapes, which is also cool.
Yeah.
So,
all right. You want to set up this wine, or shall we bring in our third wine aliyah?
Let's bring them in.
All right. Ya'amdu, Friedmans, Cantors, and Frankels. Our president, Darren Friedman, and his wife, Kara. Oh my God, everybody is there. That is really cool. Well, good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
Hi.
We're doing great.
Good. There's a small delay.
No, we're doing great. We've had more than a few glasses tonight, and I think everyone's having fun.
Excellent. All right. Have you guys poured your wine yet? Have you poured?
We're way ahead of you.
Oh, way ahead of you. All right. Go ahead. Josh, set us up.
Well, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us on this great wine. This is also one of my favorites. Just to give you a retail sense, also where everything stands. Also, we'll get to just so you know, the Tabor is about a $20 bottle. The Flam white wine is about a $40 bottle. The Jezreel is about a $30 bottle. Tulip's about $20, and the Yatir we're tasting is about an $85 bottle. So we're all over the map, also tasting all different wines. Just so you get a sense of what's going on here. So Yatir is a really cool story, I think, also. You'll see here all my different soil types. The one that I'm holding up, it just looks like I'm on the beach. Either I'm in the sand trap, or I'm down in Miami. I'm in one of the other places, or I'm in the middle of the Negev. In this case, we're in the middle of the Negev. And the famous story of Yatir is Ben Gurion decided to hire a team of scientists to go out there and build the forest. The scientist came back and he said, what do you guys do? We can't figure this out. He said, new scientist came back. And until he found the right scientist that figured out how to make the desert bloom. Now, when you look at the desert, and remember that wine press picture that we saw in the beginning? That one was found actually in the middle of the desert. That one was found in Yatir. So they've been making wine in this region, in the desert, for thousands of years. So this wine is an amazing story, amazing wine, really big, full-bodied, rich wine. Let's throw it over to our friends who look like they're having a great party outside. Tell me, guys, what are you guys tasting with this great Yatir blend of Cabernet, Petit Verdot, Malbec, and Cab Franc?
Our turn. Well, I'm a super visual person, so I find that the color was really beautiful, and we actually talked about that when we poured it, and we all took a really close look before it got really dark because we knew we were going to deal with that. So it's really bright, really fresh, and very, very beautiful, like a burgundy magenta color that was really pretty.
Yeah, it's what's coming forward also on those cards. These are all big, rich grapes. So these are very inky, as I would take a wine term, inky color grapes that give it that beautiful color. Does someone else there want to take a smell of the wine and tell me maybe what you guys are getting from the nose on this?
What were you getting, Darren? You had something to say about that.
Sure. This has got obviously the traditional Bordeaux blend. It's got a lot of the violet aromas coming through, and very fruit forward on the smell and on the taste. It smells great.
Intense.
Intense is a great word, and you'll notice that the last grape on this is a grape called Cabernet Franc. I think that's what gives this wine also a lot of that intensity. And do you guys get a little bit of that like bell pepper, that green pepper garden taste to this a little bit also maybe?
Yeah, we were talking about like an earthiness, and it's from the forest, so obviously we're going to get that taste. But yes, we all notice that sort of earthiness or an earthy elegance, if you will.
Perfect. Very, very well said. And that's I think that's that Cab Franc grape in this wine that's kind of pulling it all together. But remember, these winemakers are artists, and someone made a beer joke before. But if you ask any winemaker, what does it take a lot of to make a really good bottle of wine? They'll all say beer. So they all have that beer that, like, they all get really buzzed on that beer and make these really full-bodied, beautiful bottles of wine. But I think that this Yatir is just a true sense of the desert and letting these winemakers be drunk on beer and be artists. Kind of the way to do it, that they have this vision with all these grapes. We'll throw it back over to you guys. Can someone else come on me? What would you guys serve this wine with? What kind of food over there?
I have to say, excuse me, that I'm not really good at that kind of stuff. But what I can tell you is that when we poured it, all of us really loved it, and we've all been enjoying it. We were like, oh, we better taste it before we have to talk about it. And then we've all been like, oh, this is really good, which is basically what we've been sitting here saying, is that we all really love it. So thank you so much for the opportunity to try it, and thank you for teaching us so much about it.
What did you want to eat it with?
We'll throw it back over to Rabbi Litwak. Rabbi, this was your first time tasting this beautiful flagship wine from Yatir Winery. What do you think of it?
This is a delicious wine. This is such a wonderfully balanced. It's got good acidity, good depth. You pick up on a little bit on the green pepper, but I'm actually surprised at how light it is. I was expecting something for a wine that is 56% Cabernet Sauvignon, a much heavier wine, and that's not the case. I think that I had in my head that this was going to be a wine that would be great to put down and see in 10 or 12 years. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I would do that. I think it's got a lot of fruit. It's got a lot of structure, and I would serve this with pretty much any deep, rich sauce food. Red pasta, tomato pasta, but this would also go great with a steak. Because I think it has enough stuffing in it to be able to do that.
It's amazing to hear you talk about wine, like how spot on you are with some of your stuff, and I'm not blowing smoke. You really are amazing when you do it, because the reason this wine maybe can't age as best of some of the others. Think about where it's coming from. It's hot there, man, right? So when a grape is stressed out from the beginning, it's not going to live a long life. It's like people, right? If you were calm and chill and have a comfortable temperature your whole life and you're just chilling on the porch in a rocking chair, you're going to live a much longer life than if you're in 120-degree heat your whole life. And, you know, so it's, I like that chill, more laid back, but this is exactly what this is. The grapes show well for what they did. And they're really, I think you're right with your interpretation of it. I have tasted some older one of these. They do age, but with a lot of the wines from Israel, I think the higher end ones age a lot better than most, but they're still learning how to do their wines. You know, there's 400 wineries in Israel today, right? 400 of them. Majority of those wineries are not kosher. They're tiny little boutique wineries. Like your dream, Rabbi, would be to be like in a little tiny place making wine. That's what most of these guys are doing right now. They moved to Israel. They're moved to Israel. Their family's gone, and they're hobbying it up, and they're making cool wines. And then what happens?
It's been great, Temple Sinai. Thanks a lot. See you in Israel.
Come to my winery.
It's Josh's fault.
But like Flam is a great example of it. Flam 10 years ago, 2010, was not kosher. Okay. They realized though that the growth of Israeli wines and wines from Israel kind of almost need to have a little kosherness to them, right? It was really difficult for them to survive in the world because when someone went to a store to find Israeli wines, they would got lost. So like if you guys go to Total Wine now, most Total Wines in the US have a section in their store. One says kosher, and then next to it, it says Israel. There's two separate sections in the store. So it's like really, really come a long way when you have great wines like that we're tasting now, that a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar chain like Total is taking time out of everyone's schedule and making Israeli sections in their store because there's more and more of these wineries starting to open up. So it's just really cool just to see, you know, where it's going and where it's going to go down the future, you know?
Now, Josh, do you think that because people didn't know about Israeli wine, I mean, 20 years ago, Israeli wine, you know, and you and I know that it was there, it was around, but people weren't drinking Israeli wine. They weren't going to Total Wine to get Israeli wine. The only time that they were doing it, or the only people that were doing it, were people who were looking for kosher wine, kosher fine wine, and people, when they went to, that Israel wasn't a destination for wine. And so in order to make money, they needed to make it kosher because that's where, if they were going to send it out to the United States or other places, you know, the people who were going to buy it were going to be people who needed a kosher wine. Do you think, this is my big question, do you think that in the next 20 years, as Israel shows itself to the world as a major winemaking region, that there will be more wines that are being distributed outside of Israel that are non-kosher, and that some of these places may go back to not being kosher? Or how do you see that developing? Wine, yep. Yeah. The fact that Wine Spectator, it's put it on the front cover is amazing.
So during these past couple months, since, you know, for the past year, I've been, like I said, on this computer doing this. I have gotten in front of more sommeliers and more people and more people that are just interested in taste. The whole part about wine is people want to try new stuff. Okay, people are always interested. You're always gonna have your old faithful, but you're always willing to try new things. You want to try new stories. You want to try the newest and the coolest and the oldest and the hippest. I think that's where Israel is. And I think that when you go out and have Italian food and you think you have to buy an Italian bottle of wine, great. But you know how often people are clicking Mediterranean and this style, and people buy wine to support their region of the world. All the old Italian guys, why they used to drink all these old Italian Lambruscos, because they wanted to feel like they were back home and support back home. So if you love Sauvignon Blanc and that's all you drink, and you love a non-kosher, who cares where it's from, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, but you happen to love Israel more than anything, and this Sauvignon Blanc is just as good, why not? It doesn't make sense. But I think that it's just doing things like this, taking out booths at South Beach Food and Wine and spending money and doing crazy things like that. I think Israel's beyond past the point of no return. I think kosher, non-kosher doesn't matter. I think Israel's finally on the map as producing some great wines. And I really think that soon enough, I hope that they don't have enough wine and that we're running out every year. But we're not there yet, but we're definitely getting close. I mean, personally, again, I've been handling this portfolio for 10 years now. It's grown double digits every year.
Wow. That's incredible. So, well, look, I want to really, we've gone a little over our time. I want to say thank you. Hey, we'll say, are the Friedman Cantors and Frankels enjoying their wine?
Yeah.
Loving it.
And we all decided then this would go perfect with a brisket.
Yes.
With a brisket. I think you are right. I wouldn't turn it away. Of course, I wouldn't turn away this wine at any point. It is actually a beautiful bottle. And so, look, I want to wrap us up by again saying thank you to my very dear and longstanding friend Josh Greenstein. You're just amazing, an amazing friend, and an amazing advocate for the state of Israel and for the accomplishments of Israel. What a great way to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, to kick off Yom HaAtzmaut by drinking some Israeli wine. So thank you. I want to, we're going to close, just a reminder, upcoming events. This Friday, Dr. Andrew Rayfeld, the president of the Hebrew Union College, will be our guest during Shabbat services, 6:15, tsnd.tv. If you got here, all right, you can get to services and hear an extraordinary scholar and leader of the American Jewish community. Next Monday, Israeli art. Thanks to our friends Tzvi and Lorena Schiff. We have a really incredible program. We have the past director of the Tel Aviv Museum. We have Tzvi's father, who is Dubi Schiff, who is a major collector of art, and we have an actual artist himself, Eli Shamir, really one of the finest and most highly regarded artists in modern Israel. It is going to be an extraordinary event of discussing what does it mean to have Israeli art versus Jewish art. Are those one and the same? Are they separate? So I hope you will join us next Monday for that program. Again, I say, L'chaim, here's to the state of Israel. I can take out my flag and yay Israel, happy birthday. And again, thank you all. Have a great evening.